Today on The Occult Detective, we're going to revisit the Satanic Panic. The Satanic Panic, which kind of ran from the late 1970s until the mid-1990s, that certainly was the height of its powers. For me personally, I grew up in a very, it was a very small town, very insulated, and right in the heart of the Bible Belt. I mean, the town I grew up in, population of roughly 1,000 people, and we had five churches, in that little rural community. And so yeah, definitely they came at anything related to the paranormal or New Age or magic, and especially Dungeons and Dragons. The whole, I mean, look, the Satanic Panic is well known, well spoken of. Satan was everywhere. There was a cult of black magicians running pedophile and satanic ritual abuse camps in daycare centers all across the country. At least that's what Geraldo wanted you to believe. It was great for ratings. We now know, of course, that it was a bunch of bunk, and I knew it was bunk then, even as a young person. But what I wanted to share with you today was put out by Green Egg. That was Oberon Zell's publication. This was Witchcraft, Satanism, and Ritual Crime, Who's Who and What's What. Now, this is the second edition. The first edition of this was utterly destroyed, and you can tell by the shape of this that it has seen better days as well. But I did pick this up in, 1989. In 89, I would have been like 22, 23 years old. And I was actively pursuing my interest of being an occult detective. So when Green Egg released this little helpful pamphlet for law enforcement, I, of course, snagged as many as I could, and I would give them out to the cops and try to spread that message. It's a nice little put together booklet. You see how they have all these symbols to kind of educate people who come upon such things. Great articles inside, very dated. You will find that the magical community has evolved a lot since then. Here was a nice little insert from Isaac Bonewitz, the Cult Danger Evaluation Frame. In 1989, this was very helpful. The simple fact of the matter is that the majority of the population was just uneducated when it came to magic. So let's take a look here, right? So first of all, you have an introduction which talks about how the movie Rosemary's Baby, which came out in 1968, started this whole kind of satanic pop culture interest. They talk about LaVey, of course, and the cult revival and all that. This was written by Oberon himself. Then we have A Brief History of Satanism by Don Hudson Frew, right? History of Devil Worship. A nice little section on Aleister Crowley, on Anton LaVey. Witchcraft, and then it discusses, the current status, which would have been the 80s, which is interesting, right? So, one of the best things about this is that all their sources are accounted for. Here's an article on neo-pagan witchcraft versus Satanism, confusions and distinctions. It was written by Oberon and Morning Glory, which kind of covers the basics of Wicca and witchcraft. Here's the Principles of Wiccan Belief, adopted in 1974 by the Council of American Witches. Common themes. And then you have a nice little glossary of common terms and symbols. Again, very useful for those not well versed in such things. So, really good and thorough. But again, kind of its time. And here's some nice little School of Religion has a letter in here. Institute of Study of American Religion has a letter. All in defense of paganism, witchcraft, and showing that there's a difference between it and the faux satanic activity that was being propagated at that time. The simple fact was, it was all a bunch of hooey. It was all, and why is this important? Why am I even bringing this up? Is we're seeing kind of an influx of that sort of thought again. A lot of people are calling it the Satanic Panic 2.0. I don't think it's that extreme, simply because of the internet. Thankfully, we're a lot better suited to shouting down the panickers. But the problem is people like Eli Roth do not help matters in the slightest. In the paranormal community right now, there is a sense of sensationalism that goes along with it, which is really unfortunate. People like Zach Baggins, Eli Roth, they're producing content that is sensationalized and dramatized and leaning heavily into everything's a demon. Well, that just fuels the more negative aspects of the right-wing conservatives who, are looking for any excuse to attack people that are different than them, especially people that are non-Christian. And that's something we have to stand against. People have a right to believe what they want to believe, as long as they aren't harming anyone else. And this country was founded on those principles of freedom of religion, and the fringe portions of conservatism Those, you know, and I'm not just pointing fingers at the right. The left has their problems too. But in relationship to this satanic panic, you know, they are the vocal minority, and yeah, we just have to educate them and others so that they understand, because everybody fears what they don't understand. And so back in 1989, that's what this attempted to do. And it did a pretty good job of it. It was very useful to me, and I think it was very useful to those members of law enforcement that used this when self-styled Satanism was all the rage. Alright, that's all I got for you today. We'll be back again with a new video soon. Take care of yourselves.